Hi folks, welcome to another coaching nugget. This time we're gonna tackle the topic of caffeine again, but with a focus on long-term consumption and withdrawal symptoms. By that, you can learn how to use caffeine the most effectively in ultracycling and bikepacking to boost your cognitive abilities and your alertness. Now, let's dive into it. First, I shortly explain how caffeine works. For those of you who have already seen the video about the difference between caffeine and coffee, this is a short repetition, or you just skip the next few slides. So, we've got these adenosine receptors in our body. And we have adenosine roaming around. The molecules are roaming freely through our body. And finally, connect with their receptors. That's when you're feeling tired and the cognitive abilities drop. When you're consuming caffeine, caffeine molecules are mixed into the equation. Their molecular structure is similar to the one of the adenosine molecules. Consequently, adenosine and caffeine molecules are roaming around and the caffeine molecules can block the adenosine receptors. That's why caffeine can increase your cognitive abilities and alertness in a sleep-deprived state. But what happens when you're consuming caffeine regularly? The amount of adenosine and caffeine stays the same, but your body upregulates the number of adenosine receptors. So when the molecules are roaming around, the probability that the receptors get blocked diminishes. Caffeine loses its power. If you consume up to 700 microgram of caffeine per day, which equals about 7 cups of coffee, caffeine has no effect at all. In order to get back the power of caffeine, you need to stop consuming caffeine. Thus, the body downregulates its amount of receptors to the normal level again. If you are a coffee junkie, it makes sense to gradually stop consuming caffeine, because caffeine withdrawal comes at a price. Your body will send withdrawal symptoms. The most common and often the most severe are headaches. Moreover, your mood drops and you're probably feeling tired. These symptoms begin after about 12 to 24 hours, but they are worst on the second day. The symptoms, and especially the headaches, can last for up to 9 days. So if you want to use caffeine the most effectively on race day, you should start your withdrawal at least 14 days prior to the event. But most athletes use a more conservative timeline and don't consume caffeine for up to 3 months. Let's wrap this up. Caffeine blocks your adenosine receptors. Regular caffeine consumption upregulates the amount of those receptors. Thus, caffeine loses its ability to make you feel awake over time. But caffeine withdrawal downregulates the amount of those receptors again. But it comes along with withdrawal symptoms which last for up to 9 days. So, stop consuming caffeine at least 14 days prior to race day to get the maximum benefit. If you've got any questions concerning withdrawal symptoms, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments. And don't miss out on the previous video about the difference between coffee and caffeine. That's it for today. See you next time. Ciao, Stefan.